Hi, I want to talk to you today about the law of assumption and how you can use it to create the life that you truly want. The law of assumption states that we believe something before we already have it, and that will create it in our lives. And that is 100% true. Now, the question is, how do we take these assumptions and use them to our advantage? So, I want to go super deep into this topic. I'm going underneath all of this because on the top, that sounds great. Hey, all I got to do is assume I have $1 million. I'm going to get $1 million. I'm going to tell you something about life and about beliefs and about the way that people see the world right now that probably no one else is going to tell you because they don't know. Our entire belief system, almost every single thing that we believe is an assumption. In fact, the majority of us, when we're walking around the world, we really don't know that what we're seeing and what we're perceiving is actually nothing more than just a reflection of our own belief system and our own thinking. It's not what actually is. It's not real reality. It's just the way that we individually see it. And you know that this must be true because if everybody saw things the same way, everyone would react to any given situation exactly the same way. They would there would be no differences in opinions. Everybody would be like robots, just reacting the same way to everything, but they don't. Clearly, people have different opinions, people have different beliefs, and they see the world differently, which causes different emotional responses within them and different ways that they interact and react in the world. So, when we're very young, very, very young, we get programmed and downloaded a set of information. It comes from our parents, it comes from teachers, it comes from maybe people at the church, people around you in your life that you're close to. And we get programmed with a series of beliefs that they believed, whoever the people were that taught us. And the truth is those things, the vast majority of those things, they're all assumptions. They're just things that were taught to them by other people, and they repeat them because we accept them and we just believe them like they're true. We never question it. And that's where, in that early stage of development in our lives, we can either get set up for success and have like a great life because we had people around us that had a great belief system that was really geared towards, achieving goals and being able to function in the world and integrate ourselves in a way where we're not emotionally reactive, we're objective, we have a good sense of self-worth, a good sense of self-esteem. But that is not the case for the majority of people. In fact, it's really rare that someone gets, that gift to have such a great set of beliefs. And if you're very impressionable, you can pick up beliefs from people not knowing. You just hear something. Maybe you hear it on the news. Maybe you hear someone on YouTube like me say something. It's, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then we just believe it. We never question. We never question why the person believes that or where did it come from. And there's this giant pool of information out there a lot of times that people hold what we consider to be just common knowledge, which is actually not even really common knowledge. It's just something somebody made up and we've been saying it forever. And I'll give you examples. I'll let you see that this has to be true. 500 years ago, before America was discovered and the Europeans came over, you were considered to be an idiot if you didn't believe that the world was flat. Everyone thought the world was flat. There were very few people that didn't think that. We didn't have planes yet. We didn't have satellites. We didn't have any of that. No one knew for sure that the world was actually round yet. They thought that it was flat, and people would shame you. They would cast you out if you held an opinion like this to say that the world was anything but flat. We were dead wrong about that. And the entire population of the world believed that at that time. And the reason I say that is because today I am 100% confident that we are walking around believing all kinds of things to be true, which actually aren't true. And we don't know. And we've never asked ourselves, you know what? I can't actually know this thing. Here's the thing about the assumptions. My brain, before I had my spiritual awakening, before I was able to manifest and change the way that I see things and create things through just thinking, manifesting things into my life through the power of intention, with the law of assumption, the law of vibration, creating an environment within myself that was willing to receive opportunities and beliefs. Before that happened, my brain was convincing me that it knew things that it could not possibly know, because I was so attached to those beliefs and so attached to how smart I thought I was at the time. No one could tell me otherwise. I call it the this because of that syndrome. Let me explain what I mean. Something happens in the world. Someone says something. It could be anybody. Let's just say it's the president. President says something. Blah, 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 blah. My brain hears that piece of information. Now, this is before I've done any work on myself to realize that I'm actually assuming. And my next thoughts are, well, they only said that because of this. And I would make up a story about why they said what they said or why they did what they did. And that story would become my world. That was my reality. That was what I really believed was going on in the world. And I never had the capacity to stop myself and say, wait a minute, I don't actually know why he said that. I think it might be because of this, but I'm not actually sure. Because that's humility. The ability to understand that I don't know. And that's freedom, because if I'm walking around assuming all the time, people do it all the time, it happens unconsciously based on our belief system. If I walk around assuming and I'm real neurotic and things are negative and everything's against me and those people over there are doing this and those people over there are doing that, internally, I'm not able to receive. I'm not able to receive advice. I'm not able to see opportunities when they're presented to me, because my mind is so clouded with all of these things that I'm thinking about people and what they're doing and blah, blah, blah. And if that story is all crazy all the time, I can't. I can't manifest anything. I can't see abundance. I can't see prosperity. I can't have a true faith that allows me to move forward. So the first step with the law of assumption was me understanding that I don't know things that I think I know. There are things that I think about other people that I don't know for sure. I would look at someone and start deciding with a stereotypical view of them, what they were up to, what they were about, listen, here, I'll give you another example because it's important to try to make this connection. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian. It doesn't matter if you're conservative. It doesn't matter if you're liberal. It doesn't matter if you're on the left. If you're a Buddhist, it doesn't matter. What happens is the mind wants to simplify, and it has anxiety around not knowing, because when school, that was a big deal. If you didn't know something, if you weren't able to have the right answer or pass the test, that was like a negative experience for us. And having the right answers and knowing was way more important than saying, well, I don't know, because if you did know, then you were going to fail. And all the things that were taught to us by the education system and by the way that we have accepted those things. And again, just accepted them out of the blue. I don't know why, because someone else said to. So if you're on the left, you're on the right, we shortcut everything, especially if you're really passionate about politics or something. Let's just use politics. Let's say you're on the right, and then what happens is we start generalizing and assuming. Somebody of a particular political affiliation says something, and here goes the mind. Well, they said that because they're a Democrat, and Democrats, blah, 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 blah. Or Republican, whatever. Well, they only said that because they're a Republican, and you know how Republicans are. And we distort reality because not all Republicans or Democrats or Christians or whoever, they're not all exactly the same. And I don't know why certain individuals say certain things. But it's very easy through this law of assumption that's always working to build this crazy story about the people in the world around me and what their intentions are and what they're up to and what they're thinking, and severely distort reality. And without the right assumptions in place, I will do that over and over and over again until the end of my life. And at the end, I will still be spiritually bankrupt. I will still not have the things in life that I had hoped for, that I had wanted to achieve, because my mind made up so much information. It just made up like painted this picture of how the world was bad and people were bad and they're out to get me and da da da. And I never was able to accomplish anything like that because I couldn't hear the information that people had. I would look at them and think, oh, they're of that particular group. Well, they're an idiot and they don't know it. And now, like, I just cut off half the world. It happens all the time. It doesn't have to be politics. It can be the opposite sex. It can happen with gender. It can happen with anything, with religious, and sentence entire groups of people and just decide that they're not worthy of my time because they must be like this because of that. And the mind will do this over and over and over again until I break that pattern and decide for myself that I don't know. It's so freeing, because once I realized that whatever my mind was doing up here, talking all this nonsense all the time, was time that I wasted. Time that could have been spent doing something important or meaningful, like connecting with other people. And instead I wasted it because my mind and my fear and my self-righteousness, I had shut them out. And I wasn't open to hear anything. It's happening all the time. We're being programmed all the time. A general consensus in the United States is that China's out to get us, da 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 da. And look, I'm not saying I know, because I don't know. I don't know what's going on in China. I've never been to China. I don't speak Chinese. I don't know what their government is saying. I just know what they've said to us, and they've said it since I was a child. And some of the best friends that I have now in this life are people who I met through the internet and doing business that live in Singapore. Now, Singapore is independent now, but they were part of China for a long time. And if I had allowed all that stereotypical thinking and my prejudice and the Chinese are out to get us, I would have never been friends with any of these people, because my mind would not allow me to just listen to that. And you know what? The story over there is completely different than the story they're telling us. Completely different, because they have their own propaganda and their own agenda and all that other stuff going on. I had to set all those things aside so that I could be open to more opportunity and connection with people. Otherwise, I'm living in this little egocentric or country centric or religion centric little bubble, this little tiny little safe little place for me where I don't want to reach out and learn and be open to new ideas and talk to people. It's much easier to just buy into that terrible story about how terrible everything is, which, again, assumptions. Those are all assumptions. And once I got to this point and I was able to break free of all that and realize that I didn't know anything about anybody else and I was just making it all up, I started to assume something different. I started to assume that people have good in them. I started to assume that their intentions are good. Until proven otherwise, not everyone's intentions are good. I get that. I started to assume that they wanted to help me. I wanted to assume that they weren't just trying to rip me off like I always thought before. I was completely trapped because my beliefs, which were all assumptions, were killing me. The worst thing about those kind of beliefs is that if I assume everybody's just trying to rip me off, and then let's just say that one time I decide, well, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. And then it turns out it didn't really work out that well. I say, see, I told you, they're all just trying to rip me, and close the door and never try again. Instead of saying, well, that one didn't work out again, definitely won't do that again. Let's try this one. And let's try that one and that one until something happens. But it will never happen if I allow that crazy way of thinking into my life. It'll keep me in a prison, stuck, not able to move forward because it was safe. It was safer to just believe that everything's a ripoff and they're all trying to get me. And it was easier to believe that than it was to go out and try and fail and try and fail and find out that thing didn't work and this person wasn't that great with me. Okay, cool. Forgive, let go to the next thing. I assume that at the end of the day, I will be able to figure it out. I assume that the universe will provide for me, given enough time and effort on my part. And that's the way that the law of assumption can help you create what you really want in life. It's not easy. It's not a magic wand. It requires commitment, discipline, and effort. And I hope that that can help you. So if you like this video, please share, comment down below. I'll try to answer everybody. And subscribe so that you can get more content like this. I'm coming on here to tell you the truth. I'm not coming on here to trick you or talk about things I don't know anything about like most of the people on the internet are doing. I'm talking about things that I have direct experience with that can forever change your life.